DeepSeek came in, totally shocked the world earlier on in 2025. In January, later on, by the end of that month, it had surpassed ChatGPT as the most downloaded on iOS. So, what are your thoughts on DeepSeek and its impact right now in tech?
I think DeepSeek and R1 in particular was an earthquake. It was a real wake-up call for the rest of the world. And so DeepSeek was impressive on a cost basis alone, but the fact that they made it open source really changed the game for, I think, AI entrepreneurs all over the world. All sorts of countries saw that moment and think, aha, we can also participate and we don't have to make the same compromises or the same types of alliances that we might otherwise have to. Things are possible. So I think it was a real win for the open source community in that respect. We've been reporting on Chinese technology for 5 years, for as long as the publication's been alive. I used to work in China, so I know how talented China's engineers are, not just in AI, but in every form of technology you can imagine. Chinese engineering leads the world in so many capacities. So it's not surprising that their AI model, especially having to work around restrictions around chips and talent, that they would be able to produce something that was as valuable, as competitive, as capable, and as affordable as what they've done. So I think it's now game is in a new place, and I think that's really exciting for most of the world at this time.
A lot of these developing countries are looking to China as a leader in technology. So, how best do
Yeah.
you think China can develop or try to fill some of these technological disparities and gaps in the global south?
Well, to give credit where it's due, I think they already are. The Belt and Road Initiative is an enormous driver of infrastructure and change and investment. Um, People have very different experiences across those projects, so I won't identify them. But I think on an infrastructure level, China is playing an enormous role in getting people access to power, getting access to telecommunications, all the backbone stuff that you would need just to get started in the first place. I think that's happening. I also think that the Chinese tech sector is unusually good at making affordable hardware and software. I used to work for Xiaomi a long time ago, and at the time it was a small startup, affordable smartphone player, and here it is making cars. The ability of Chinese companies to not only create really good quality products, but also make them affordable and make them at scale, I think is really probably the most important factor. I always liked a story of a phone company called Transsion. Transsion is a Shenzhen-based smartphone company, which briefly was the number one African sales smartphone in the world, I think in 2017, 2018, because they had showed up in a couple of African markets and they had listened to the users. What a radical thought. And they were able to build features that the users in these African markets simply hadn't had because no one had tried to build anything for them. And if it existed, it was too expensive. So they came out with a better camera and a multiple SIM card slot and really simple things that I think were available to anybody. But Chinese tech, in my experience, the entrepreneurs, especially when they're outside of China, they are really, really, really good at localizing. And that makes a huge difference because then people are able to use tools that are made for them and add on top of them. I think that's really exciting.